but evil lurks in the hearts of men. The shadow knows.
Welcome to a very chill episode of The Empire Never Ended. We got some inclement weather out here. We're all feeling scattered and weird, like we just woke up from a dream about the Black Legion, which we're gonna talk about a little today. Only a little though. Mostly it's a movie ep. We're gonna have a nice little, nice
movie up in our first radio drama episode as well.
The first radio drama we didn't write and produce ourselves episode.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yes.
So Black Legion, pro or con?
Well, I mean, we didn't. I think this is kind of our way of covering the Black Legion,
right? Because we skipped them and they're important.
We kind of skipped them, and they are important, and it does tie into once again Detroit.
And honestly, it's like it really should have been an episode. We just have so many other things to cover. Like it's a very interesting subject, and
and this one at least, as opposed to having to read some books, we could watch some movies.
Books,
and so since we like to tie in, less book learning. Since you
want to say the rest of that,
more book burning.
There we go.
That's a deep cut for anybody that I would be impressed if anybody could actually figure out where that's from. But if you do, let me know because we'll be friends. But this is following our TENE pattern of doing fictional portrayals of historical events, right? Which we've done in the past arc with partisan films. So
it's
also we're going to be doing it with. Yeah, the Black Legion.
That's right. Yeah. It's really a huge relief when, you have to cover a topic, but you just can't fit anything else into your brain or schedule. And they made like 2 movies and 2 whole radio shows about it. How nice.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing in 36, 37.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, but it's interesting as to like why the Black Legion specifically was so shocking or like able to be portrayed on film as opposed to like some of the other stuff that we've already talked about. I think it's because it's just so, cinematic already with like, it's basically the Klan, but with even more like preposterous robes. And, the details of the rituals that came out are pretty absurd and, lend themselves well to fiction. More so than, I guess, silver shirts or something. But
they were also killing white people, I guess. That's what made them kind of scandalous.
And I also suppose they were the outgrowth of a well-known group that everybody identified, which was the KKK, of course. So all that stuff.
Which was very active at the time that this was made, and
it was
that
having
wasn't
its third wind
shocking
at that point.
Yeah. They weren't making like, shocking films denouncing the KKK, but the Black Legion was, I think maybe because it was happening in like the industrial North and killing white people. I think in all the things that we've covered, like out of the 2 movies and 2 radio dramas, only one of them has a victim who is not white. Right. And that's that the one radio drama, the mysteries, or the what's it called? True Detective Mysteries.
True. Yeah.
The rest of them are like the victims Polish or.
Well, if it helps, I think the actor was white.
No, that does not help at all for its.
It's not a flattering portrayal. Let's talk about who these people were then, huh? Who they really were outside of a what's that word? That fancy word you like to use? Filmatic.
The film pro-filmic reality. I don't know.
There we go. Yeah, but so this is the pre-filmic reality of the Black Legion.
Ooh.
So, I don't know, where do you want to start with them? I mean, we're looking at another interwar organization. At its height, I think it was something like 156,000 people that I guess we know about, spread out over several states in the U.S., but mostly in
the Midwest.
yeah.
Right. It seems to be Michigan,
Iowa,
Ohio,
also. What else? Yeah.
Iowa.
But they had a big LA chapter as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
initially
crazy shit
started
out of LA,
in
actually.
Ohio, and then they spread.
Right.
And
Yeah.
initially, they were a group inside the KKK, and then they just became an independent group.
They ran security, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
Kind of like Combat 18, sort of, at the time. Except, unlike Combat 18, these guys had a lot of membership in the like upper class of these areas, in political positions and cultural positions, like usually police.
Yeah,
many,
police chiefs
many
also,
police chiefs and such. A judge, I think, was implicated in all this. But yeah, I think they claimed, though, in 1935, at least, the FBI was considering the possibility that there was up to like 1.5 million of these people, which I think might have been a Black Legion claim. But you can't trust a Black Legionnaire farther than you can throw them, is what they used to say in the 30s.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, since it is an offshoot of the Klan, it does have that same
scam
kind of
quality to it.
that scam. Well, but also that same organizational structure in which, like, you know, they did have considerable amount of influence within, like, you know, politics and the media and the like. But, you know, at that point, I think that level of organization of the Klan, I think, wasn't as prominent in like the far north Midwest like this. And somebody who knows more about the Klan could correct me about that, but my understanding is that like Klan activity against like in the world of industrial labor was mostly, you know, contracted and sporadic, right? They would do stuff like, there were, you know, lots of examples of Klansmen being used to break up strikes or, you know, attack radicals in various parts of the North. But I think that, you know, the Black Legion being its own kind of Klan that seemed to mostly be focused around like the industrial working class in the North.
Yeah, and like Klan members,
Exceptional.
Black Legion members also wore robes, which were black, and with this like pirate-looking skull and bones insignia on it.
Oh, I thought they were Chetniks.
No, no.
Yeah.
And like the Klan, they were extremely anti-black, also anti-Catholic, anti-Semitic, and anti-Slavic, it seems. A lot of people that they were attacking were of Slavic origin, from what I read.
Yeah. Some of them was like I think was a double whammy of Slavic Catholics, like Polish people. But yeah.
So apparently they killed like around 50 people in a few years. And this
That's
was,
what they were convicted of anyway.
Yeah, early 30s. And they were also like kidnapping people and trying to force them to join them, which is an interesting thing.
Kidnapping even adolescents and getting them involved in fucked up shit too, like robberies and stuff like that. There was even like a youth version of it, kind of a young Black Legion of Legionnaire children mostly doing the same shit to their peers and stuff.
Yeah, and at some point they kidnapped like a famous baseball player from Detroit, I think. And that was also part of the scandal of the Black Legion in those years.
I mean, that kind of seems like an ineffective way of maintaining a secret group is by like press ganging people that don't want to be involved into it. I mean,
well, I mean, you know, also the first guy they caught, his name is not coming to me now. What's his name? The guy that gave up the whole story. Like, really not under that much pressure. Just the first guy that they tried for this, you guys can help me out with that, but he just fucking started talking. I mean, I don't know if it's like what we heard in the radio. I doubt it is, but really gave up many, many leaders, told all about the rituals, memberships, all that. It's got a stupid name.
Dean something.
Yeah, Dayton Dean. That's his name.
Dayton
Dean was a trigger man for them. And just like, just cracked the whole thing open. So, I don't know. It was a big secret, but I think everybody seemed to know about it. You know, that's the thing about it, is that this was a well-known organization in its area of operation, but it was also protected by multiple layers of like, you know, police chiefs, judges, press people, etc. So
Malcolm X claimed his father was killed by the
right.
Black Legion.
Yeah.
Which,
And it seems that like 1/3 of its members were in Detroit. So Detroit once again
The
is
king of fascists in
Yeah.
America. But speaking of Detroit, though, Father Coughlin from this arc, despite Black Legion being anti-Catholic, Coughlin, he was called out in his own time for never ever bringing up the Black Legion, even after these trials, and it was well known what was going on, and they were openly anti-Catholic, and he just wanted to talk about anti-Catholic forces all the time. Kind of never broached the Black Legion topic. And another one of our guys, Pelly, his silver shirts worked hand in hand with Black Legion in like Southern California and stuff, and they run throughout our arc, really, the Legion.
I kind of even got a little bit of a Coughlin vibe from
the radio
portrayal of in
the Humphrey Bogart one.
Yes,
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that scene. But yeah, we'll get to that.
Also, we're going to talk about Black Legion again in our upcoming episode on Christian identity, because there's a strong clan connection there, and one of their guys, Wesley Smith, and his best buddy Gerald Smith are all tied up in that shit. So today, take it easy though. Take your shoes off. This is a Balkan house. We're not running this by American standards. Keep your shoes at the door, and we're gonna watch some movies here.
Yeah, so we're gonna deal with two movies. First is The Legion of Terror, which came out in 1936.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the first movie to really cover the Black Legion at all.
Were they called in this the Hooded Legion? Was that the
name? They were called the Hooded Legion, but it was also the basis for the next movie that we cover, which is the Black Legion from 1937, which is a much higher production film, and also one of Humphrey Bogart's early like leading roles.
Yeah. Yes.
So like this is before,
So Legion of Terror is what, 35? What is it? 36?
36. Yeah.
And it's interesting too out of this bunch because it's one of the very few movies that I've ever seen that has like two heroic post office people.
Yeah,
saving the day.
I actually I enjoyed that aspect of it
too.
Because you're used to now seeing like, if anybody's working for the government to like, be a good guy, it's like the FBI or like a detective or something.
Type.
Yeah. And these are postal.
Sir, I'm a postal inspector. Stand down. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And they seem like, they take that job really seriously.
Totally. I took it seriously watching them. I had no idea like there was such a cool job out there.
I mean, the postal inspectors did deep undercover and to break up clan groups.
Yeah.
You don't fuck with this postal service.
Like practically sacrificing their lives on the altar of like postal security, That's what I want to see. Yes. So that's kind of also something that, as far as I know, wasn't really a part of the Black Legion story.
No.
It wasn't cracked by the post office. But a lot of it in this thing was very realistic. Like it's the first time we see the theme of oaths being given at gunpoint, which was a real deal. The use of like lashes and punishment was in there. Yeah. Well,
and both are based off of this murder of Charles Poole, who was public what's it called, WPA
Works Progress
worker.
Administration.
Yeah, who was murdered by the Black Legion.
Right.
And as Fritz mentioned before, it was during that trial that all these salacious details of the rituals and the violence of the Black Legion came to light.
Yeah.
And so, most of the stuff that you see, like with the oaths and all that, was taken from this testimony, which does appear to be more or less true.
We can kind of sum it up real quick, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm already like, it's already kind of fading because the Bogart one was definitely superior.
Yeah, the Bogart one definitely took it, but this one had some interesting stuff that the Bogart one didn't, that I think is worth pointing out. So, I mean, this movie, it stars, it's directed by Charles C. Coleman and stars Bruce Cabot, Marguerite Churchill, Ward Bond, and Crawford Weaver. Some of these guys were actually, relatively respected actors at the time.
This is not a B movie,
Well, it is kind of.
You'd call this a B movie? Like this is like in Space Invaders style?
No, but it's
It's a bit. I would say. Okay, sorry. Maybe. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it'd be better to say that it kind of feels a lot like those movies that they would show GIs about how like the civic system works in America or something like that. Like it had that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, so without getting too nerdy, I mean, the genre of like social problem films was very big at the time, and this is immediately kind of post-code Hollywood, so they weren't allowed to do like really sensational violence and sex and all that stuff without contextualizing it properly, and
interracial kind of partners,
yeah,
etc.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. But this is kind of a way to do that, because it does have like some big violence and action, not as much as the Humphrey Bogart one, but it's definitely there. So it's definitely not big budget blockbuster like the Black Legion, but
it's also relatively short. It's only like 60
it's
minutes.
63 minutes long or something. It's
but it's a deal because it feels like 2 hours.
Yeah. It's not as action packed as the Black Legion. And basically, it follows these two postal investigators who intercept a bomb like early. It's like their first day on the job or something.
Yeah, totally. Knows exactly what to do with it. Knows what it is.
He diffuses this bomb by throwing it in this bucket of water, and it was a sophisticated bomb, and they figure out that it was most likely sent to a senator in Washington who comes from this town. Oh Jesus, what is it? Stanfield.
Yeah, Stanfield. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice too in the post office, like everybody was completely nonplussed by this whole event. Like the boss is like, "Hey, good job catching that bomb," and he's like, "Thanks, boss." And everybody's like, even the guy that was holding the bomb a second ago and almost set it off was like, "What? You got a bomb there, huh? All right."
I mean, shit, dude. You listen to the
you
listen to the Italian American episode, you realize that they were fucking sending bombs in the mail left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, like what, 4 or 5 postal workers got blown up by one of these bombs.
God, yeah, postal workers really were badasses in the interwar period, huh?
Yeah, I mean, sending a lot of shit by post back then.
I mean, they deserve this movie. They deserve an action movie where they battle
Nazis.
Good for them.
Totally. So they totally intercept this, discover that it was sent to a senator. The senator shows this letter from this group called the Hooded Legion that's operating around his town and causing trouble, and so they decide to go undercover and investigate. So they get on a train. So the two main characters are Frank Marshall and what's the other guy's name? Slim? Is it Slim Hewitt?
It is Slim. That I remember.
Yeah. So the film follows Frank and Slim, and Frank and Slim are on this train to go to Stanfield, and Slim is just reciting off how many telegraph poles there are, like in this kind of weirdly
he's a bit of an idiot savant, way. I think.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know there's 6,742 telegraph poles between Washington and here? That makes 6,743. Kind of thought you might like to know.
So this conversation, this riveting conversation of telephone pole or telegraph poles gets interrupted by this woman who is fleeing some creep on who's like trying
we know
to
that
because
he has a mustache.
He has a mustache and he's wearing dark clothes.
Very clearly creepy. Yeah.
And so she pretends that she found the guys that they're her husband or whatever, and then our main leading guy Frank decides to then just creep on her.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And she like calls him out on it too. Yes. She's like,
I see I managed to avoid one man and to run into another twice as dangerous.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude, but I have to admit that you made the first unconventional move.
So yeah, he's like weird and inappropriate with her, and within 5 minutes of meeting her, he's like, "I've never met a dame like you." Like,
yeah, and she still has good, like, she's doing fine. She says, like, "You still haven't met me," like giving them really strong signals. But like, they cut then to them all like laughing together in the last scene, with all of them sitting together.
Yeah.
So, obviously.
The filmmakers really wanted us to think that his creepiness is very charming.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're persistent when you creep on a woman, you'll end up happy with her.
That's it.
Which is what is, I guess, the moral of this story.
Yes.
And so they get to town, and they assume these fake identities, right? Because they're undercover. This is deep undercover for the Postal Service. It's a big deal. They're taking their jobs very seriously.
Hell yeah.
And they decide that the best way to like infiltrate this town is to go and try to get a job at the factory. They quickly find out via this woman's brother, this woman's character being named Nancy. We find out through her brother that you can't just get a job in Stanfield, and that he immediately just goes into great detail as to why, by saying that there's a secret society called the Hooded Legion, and they control everything, and why no one gets a job without their approval, and he doesn't like them one bit, and he'll never join them, and blah, blah, blah. And it's...
Yeah, and they're kind of on to him too, aren't they? Like, he's gotten notes or some shit.
Right. Well, because the next scene is like he pulls out all these letters, like hate, letters that are like, you've been running your mouth too much. We're gonna shut you up for good or whatever. They sign it with a skull and crossbones.
Which just a note. There would be after this movie, I think, a janitor in California who got his like head blown off by the Black Legion, and a note was found on him that said something like that. It was like, "We think you've been talking too much." That's it.
I mean, I think absolutely what they were doing. Yeah. So the brother, Nancy's brother, then decides that what he's going to do is go on down to the local newspaper and report these bad guys, because he cites a previous journalist that was able to crack some Klan group or something like that. And so he goes down to the local newspaper and presents this journalist or the editor of the newspaper, like the local editor, Colonel McCollum, with all these letters. And it's like, hey, there's this Hooded Legion. They're terrorizing everything. They run everything. Please, do something about it. And he says, oh, yes, of course. And then, Don Foster leaves. This guy gets on the horn and calls the rest of the guys in the Hooded Legion, and basically shows that he is not only in the Hooded Legion, but probably pretty up there. Mm-hmm. And this is a quick aside, because this film, when we talk about the next one, they're very similar, and they obviously borrowed heavily from the Black Legion borrowed heavily from this film, The Legion of Terror, except for showing the level of infiltration in like the state and in the media, which is really a major part of this film, and that's like sorely lacking in the other one. Right. And
but I think neither of these things has cops who are Black Legion people.
No. I don't think that would have been allowed.
Yeah.
Especially like post Code Hollywood.
But usually when they want to portray how Black Legion is, established, they have some journalists who are supporters of it. That's what I noticed in most of this. And in one of the radio dramas, there were also like politicians, and there was a connection with the political party, which was interesting, but no cops.
Yeah. But the Black Legion film doesn't really touch on that connection at all. It's mostly, the factory workers, like rank and file dudes, and you see these other like higher ups, but you don't really know what their position is.
It's got a
and this one take. It's like very in this one it's very clear. It's like everybody that's running this town, they don't explicitly show like the cops and like the state involvement with this, but it's kind of implied. Mm-hmm. And of course all these other well-respected members of society are part of this organization.
Yes.
Except for the post office official there.
Yes. Who's a very honorable
this guy. Is an incorruptible American institution.
Clearly.
Of absolute militant badasses with like combat training and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Slim and Frank go down to the factory to try to get a job, and the foreman tells them no, but then there's a scene in which, Don Foster, so the brother of Nancy, gets fired from his job because he's been, mouthing off. And, the journalist like snitched on him or whatever, the editor snitched on him. And so the boss fired him. And so he goes out in front of the factory with his pink slip and starts waving it around and saying, you know what this means? This whole town is controlled by these thugs and I've had enough of it. At which point, Frank, our postal worker, undercover postal worker intervenes and tells him to shut up, at which point some of the local, like, Legion guys look at him and, God, he had a line that I really liked.
This Legion guy, by the way, looks like a classic, like, Italian gangster type dude when he shows up.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be, like, Irish, I think. He has, like...
That shouldn't be true either.
Yeah, I know. But I actually noticed this in the other one, too. One of the other guys, this dude had kind of, like, an Irish name or whatever. But maybe I might be wrong about that. It's likely that I am.
Is that the one that's like that? I can see you can use your mitts, kid. Moment. Right?
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Yeah.
That guy went down like duck soup.
Yeah. So they see he says
Say, you're pretty handy with your mitts, ain't you?
Sorry, I really love 1930s slang. Both of these movies had me.
Yeah, but I'm glad
laughter.
it's kind of over too. I feel like the reason why there's so much of it is because they knew their days were numbered on it. I think like you can only say that for too long without getting really annoying, and I think a decade is plenty. But thank God it happened. That's what I feel.
Yeah, well, they say swell a lot too, which I get a kick out of. And sure instead of yes just ceases to exist in this like. Well, sure,
well, sure, I did.
Sure. So they get initiated really quickly into the Black Legion, or into the Hooded Legion, I should say. They get taken to, they're like, oh, if you want your job and la la la, you can come on over to this political club on whatever street. They go there and it's a meeting and there's a speech against,
the usual
immigrants.
Yeah.
But it goes pretty quickly from there.
Well, they also get sold their membership in this one as well, right?
Yeah, and they definitely emphasize this in both films,
yes.
The kind of con aspect of this, because the first thing they're told when they're informed that they can join is like, hey, cough up some money, basically. Like it's like you need $6.50, and they oblige. Although Frank goes about it in a kind of clever way, right? Because Slim immediately just pulls out the money, and Frank says, I don't have it here, but I will mail it to you tomorrow, and then you can mail me like my uniform and my gun.
That's
and
right.
Stuff.
Yeah,
Which
he's
is
like,
clever
you're in
because,
my world now, motherfucker.
Yeah.
The mail.
He knows how the mail works. He's gonna there's gonna be a paper trail to this shit. Like,
you just fucked up, boy. You've
give
no
him cold,
idea
hard cash.
Which office I'm from. The one called Post.
Yes. So they do the initiation ceremony, and it's pretty. I think I like the depiction in the Black Legion film more. It was definitely more epic. But this one is pretty good too. So they get blindfolded and taken out into the woods, where they're met by dozens of guys in black hoods with skull and crossbones. And in this one, a bunch of them get initiated at once. It's like 4 or 5 of them, right?
Yeah, it's like a mass baptism. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this, whatever, was he a Grand Dragon, Grand Wizard? Do they have the same titles?
They had like military
Legion?
titles. They were generals and commandants
right.
and shit.
Yeah. They had military titles. Either way, the head honcho is up there on this like pulpit that
head
has
honcho.
like with like skulls and crossbones, and he's giving his speech. And then when they take the oath, a bunch of Legionnaires step out from behind them and pull out pistols and put them to their heart. And this is definitely from the details from like the testimony on Poole's murder, because this is repeated over and over. Anytime we talk about the Black Legion,
I found
it's
actually
this.
a report that was even from 35 from the FBI that was talking about this from an informant.
So, they do the initiation. There's very dualistic nature to the oath. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah.
The forces of light and darkness. In the other one, it's literally God and the devil.
Which is actually one of the ones that the FBI has on record, is the God and the devil one. Yeah. To both God and the devil, you swear to punish you.
Because God as being the creator, and the devil who's going to destroy and punish you if you ever betray the Legion.
Yeah.
The last part of the oath is like, it's quite graphic. They're like, may my heart be torn out and roasted over an open pit of sulfur, and
Right, yeah.
And will suffer the most horrible death rather than reveal a single word of this, my oath.
Yeah, exactly. May my liver be boiled for 1 hour, sautéed with onions, fed to my children.
Yes. So yeah, they join the this hooded legion, and they do they do much with them in terms of like they terrorize some people, right?
Our heroes don't. They
no, they don't. But
yeah, there's like a bunch of cuts of like you see like a dude in costume, you see some sort of a crime, and it's like some newspaper type stuff. I think I might be mixing up the two movies now, but yeah,
that's where I'm getting kind of.
This movie's
a
lot choppier
Bogart
too. It feels a lot more like a dream. Like it kind of just pops you from one scene to the next without really having like a strong thread between all of them. So fuck knows.
Yeah, but I mean the major then next event in this film, and it's kind of the most interesting one in the way that it's framed. This is kind of like how the power of the media is that the good guy, the good worker guy, Don Foster, Nancy's brother, who seems to be like the only guy in any of these factories and one of the only guys in town who wants nothing to do with this, hooded legion. We know that he had previously, gone to the media and nothing happened. And so he goes back to Colonel McCollum to complain. Colonel McCollum tells him, of course, that, we have to verify all these facts and, you can't just, we can't just publish anything and blah, blah, blah. And then Don leaves. And again, Colonel McCollum gets on the horn and decides to set him up. And he very blatantly says, we're going to show like what the media can do pretty much. He's like, you should write an article about drunk driving and the dangers of drunk driving.
Right. Yeah.
And so they set up Don by telling him to go to some place in town to meet with some guy. An old lady steps in front of his car. Presumably she's paid or something. We don't know why she would agree to get clobbered. Do we?
Well, we know later. It's not an old lady. It's a fucking Legionnaire.
Oh fuck, you're right. Yeah.
So this Legionnaire dresses up like an old lady, and then that kind of other dude, that Italian gangster looking guy who's Irish, is kind of in the shadows, right?
Yeah.
So this lady wanders in front of this. Yeah.
This guy dressed as an old lady steps in front of the car. Don is shocked and he gets out, and meanwhile the shady gangster dressed looking Legionnaire comes and pours a bunch of liquor on the front seat and drops a bottle of liquor in the car, and he goes, "Look, he's drunk.
Yeah.
He's drunk."
He starts like whispering to the people gathering and stuff.
Yeah, big crowd forms, and then he keeps on telling everybody, "Look, I can smell the liquor all the way from here. He's drunk."
Yeah. And then I think
this is kind of where they implicate like the state, because the cops and like the ambulance are right there, and they kind of just like signal them to come over, and they come and pick up this Legionnaire, right? Who's dressed as an old lady. He's clearly not. So they must, I think it's kind of implied that they have somebody on the inside there, but it's not, so blatantly stated. But he gets locked up for a little bit till they, figure out that he's not drunk at all, because they test him at the station and he's not drunk. But it doesn't matter, because once they let him out, Colonel McCollum ups the ante and continues to publish over, radio and newspapers about how they just let this drunk driver out, who's going to go and terrorize the street with his vehicles. And
they do like one of those soft on crime things.
Yeah. It says the drunk drivers will kill more people than the war or something. So, public opinion quickly turns against this, nice guy, Don Foster. Like everywhere he goes, even like his former friends are like, "You drunk bastard. You almost killed that old lady. I heard she's going to die. Fuck you, drunk piece of shit." But in 1930s words.
Right. Go to the Dickens, you prevaricating so-and-so.
Yes. So, he gets set up. Don still doesn't want to like give up though. And they decide to kill him, the Legion, right?
Yeah. Well, but they do this by they kind of incite through this very soft touch a mob that ends up like surrounding our guy, they beat him up, and then he's pulled into a car, whisked away.
Yeah, and once again, they kind of emphasize that the Black Legion's focus isn't just on like this kind of nativist political violence, but like vigilantism in general, right? It comes up in the second film as well, where it's like, you know, they're there also to solve the issue of drunk driving, since clearly the state is not taking it seriously. They just let him out, and so it's up to us. And so they haul Don over into the woods, and they have like a straight up tribunal with this, like, you know, with the whole Black Legion clan guys, and then they kill him.
And that's, I think, supposed to stand in for the murder of what's his butt in real life? I forgot his name.
Poole.
Yeah. Again, with Poole, like, he was accused of being a wife beater, and that was also apparently a false accusation that they started and spread in order to make his execution more palatable.
Yeah. So, you know, this murder is quite shocking to our heroes Frank and Slim. You know, they knew these were bad guys, but, you know, they just murdered this poor fella.
Never in my career as a post office official.
Yeah, never in his like month of being
a
postal investigator. So they decide, you know, they really got to like call in the heavies here. Slim decides that he is like, they figure out the connection to McCollum and to like the newspaper, and Slim decides he's going to intervene here. While Frank only finds out that Slim kind of took matters into his own hands and did stuff kind of recklessly, which is, you know, his part of his character. And so both Slim and Nancy go to confront McCollum separately, but then they both get captured. And yeah, Frank decides that like the only people that can solve this is basically the real government, since this whole town is overrun. And he goes to the state capital, which, you know, they never tell you what state this is in.
You're right.
Yeah. So because he just goes, "Where's the state capital?"
Yeah.
25 miles away.
Get me on the phone with governor of state.
Yes. It's exactly that. Even with the senator, it was like the senator from Stanfield or whatever.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck is that? Like, so he goes and tries to convince the governor to like send in the National Guard. And the governor's like, well, that doesn't look good when the National Guard goes into the street. And he's like, well, fuck it. You know, this whole town's taken over. So Nancy and Slim are put in front of this like clan tribunal. And, you know, right before they're about to be sentenced, the good guys from the National Guard intervene, and it's game over for the Black Legion.
Yeah. It's a very heroic scene of Post Office Frank leading the National Guard, like fucking Washington on Valley Forge, except with like smoke bombs and shit. I mean,
McCollum meets like a pretty epic end too, right?
Oh my god, I forgot how he dies.
His car explodes,
yes,
right?
For no fucking reason.
Yeah. He's like driving away and his car explodes.
Well, this National Guard like does one of those Mongol horse archer moves and like stands up in the back seat and then makes a perfect shot into the dude's wheel, and that sends him careening off of a hill. I wouldn't describe it as a cliff. And instantly exploding. Yes.
And there is an interesting speech at the end of the film.
Yeah. Of course, like all of these kind of social problem films, and like you all saw this in like gangster films at the time too. Like they would end with this moral message, right? In order to contextualize like the bad things that you saw.
And this is why you buy stamps.
And who tells us the moral message?
I think it's the chief postal inspector.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some post office boss.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And what do you remember, Ray? Like approximately what he says?
Well, I remember only two things that Nancy is also there. There are two main guys are there, and Nancy is also there. And the post office boss says, "Well, we were lucky this time." And I thought that's funny because Nancy lost her brother was murdered. Okay, maybe whatever. And then he gives this speech how we need to be careful, and his point is how the America is a nation of joiners.
Well, that's the way these things go. I suppose some poor moron listened to one of McCullum's speeches and really believed everything he heard. This is the greatest country of joiners in the world. If people would only stop to think before they joined such organizations as this, they'd be 100% better off. They don't realize that their money is going to a bunch of racketeers.
Yeah, right. That was his speech.
They will join anything.
Right.
So we really
but it's
have to
but
be
it's kind of a
careful.
compliment and kind of not at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
He seems proud that America's a nation of joiners, but he might as well be like, America's a nation of proud idiots.
Yes.
We'll believe any old bullshit. That's who we are, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, he basically calls most Americans like dumb and
Well, at least the post office is there to save
gullible morons.
That's
who will
right.
follow anyone. Yeah.
We read your mail. We know what you think. Freaks, all of you. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I mean, he concludes with saying that all these groups are against true American values of whatever freedom of religion and whatever.
Yeah.
And that they did a good job. And I guess Frank's creeping on Nancy did pay off in the end because they end up together.
Yeah,
Of course.
Of
course.
Even though there was a moment there earlier in the film when Nancy finds out that Frank was in the Black Legion, she gets pissed off.
Yeah, he does a very poor job of explaining himself. She says, "Are you a member of the Black Legion?" And what he probably could have said is, "No, I'm undercover right now." But he just says, "Yes, I am."
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Why are you mad?"
Yeah, instead of being like, "Well, listen, little lady, I'm a postal inspector and I take my job very seriously."
That's
and
impressive.
Instead, he's like,
apparently,
he was going to say yes, but, and then she tells him to fuck off before he gets to the butt.
yeah.
So yeah, not too clever. Humphrey Bogart is way more of a kind of endearing character. In
let's go to that movie
than any of these
Yes,
guys.
let's go to that depiction.
Bogey.
It's straight up called
All right.
Black Legion. This is what we're talking about.
This is next year, right? 37.
Yeah.
Yeah, just literally beginning of 37. I think came out in January.
Mm-hmm. And this is a real movie. It's an hour and a half long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a real movie.
No.
It was actually quite enjoyable.
It was one of the
I like this
best
one a lot,
films
yeah.
of the year or some shit, wasn't it, when it came out? It was
Yeah, it got really good
well
reviews. I read the New York Times review from the period, and they said it was a good example of Hollywood doing something good about the bad social problems happening at the time.
And they were like, "Yeah, we thought you didn't want that. We're really confused right now. So is code over or what? Can we talk about class again?" Yeah.
Yeah. There are some surprising things in here that I'm surprised the censors let fly.
Yeah.
This has a lot of kind of
very pro-union, this film.
Yeah, pro-union, but lots of kind of overt sexual innuendo, alcoholism, which is a big thing not to talk about really. Because one of the good guys is a drunk,
Yeah. But it's
Humphrey Bogart becomes
it's very,
a bad guy.
very patriarchal and moralistic in its portrayal of the immoral woman.
Well, it's part of their
Yeah,
defense.
of course.
It's yeah. So let's open it up. So it's the same story. Still Poole's murder. Take on that. But again, Poole is never depicted in any of these tellings as who he was, which was the Works Progress Administration organizer.
Yeah. So it follows the main characters of Frank Taylor, who's played by Humphrey Bogart, who again, this is before he becomes really famous. Maltese Falcon, I think is 41 or something. Angels with Dirty Faces, I think, is right after this.
Yeah, he's super young in this, and still somehow looks like he's 40.
Well, because he's actually not super young. He made it into film. By the time he was acting in this film, he was probably 30 or something.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
He's not that young. And he's your average good guy, lovable factory worker.
Is that supposed to be the Ford company or not?
They don't say, but I think this one is actually set in Detroit.
Yeah, but he operates some
like,
machinery in the company.
He's a drill operator.
Yeah, he's a drill operator. It's a bunch of guys, and it starts off with, them having this conversation with he's talking to his coworker who's, also his neighbor, about who's like, super hungover because he was just like out drinking the night before, and they're all like breaking his balls for, being hungover. And, it's very kind of camaraderie of the workplace kind of thing. And then they all kind of point to the nerd, this guy, Dombrowski, right? Dombrowski?
Yeah.
Dombrowski, Joe Dombrowski, who's like, sitting there with his face in a book, and they're like, "Oh, what do you got to read books for?" And he's like, "You don't need a book to operate this drill." And he's like, "I need to read it if I want to build my own and service it or whatever."
He's designing a lathe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's designing a lathe.
Oh, running a lathe ain't good enough for you, huh? Now you gotta learn how to design one.
You then find out that their current foreman is being moved elsewhere, and so the position of foreman will be opening up soon. Now, Humphrey Bogart's character, Frank Taylor, really thinks that it's probably going to be him who's going to be advanced. Most of his coworkers seem to agree with him, too. They're like, "Oh, you got this."
Yeah, he's been there for a while. People trust him. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he goes home feeling pretty confident. We meet his wife, who's kind of this archetype of like a really like wholesome, innocent housewife.
Yes.
Like not much more to say about her at this point.
This film does not pass the Bechdel test.
No. But like it establishes her as this like loving wife and loving mother, whatever.
Yeah, he has a kind of an ideal home. It's also important that Frank is a worker, but he's not poor by any means. I mean, he's living pretty okay, but he has ambitions. He wants more.
Yeah, and it's clear that like. Yeah, he's doing all right now, and he's about to be doing a lot better. But like times were rough before, because his wife is like, "Oh, when you were out of a job, there were those people that helped you out, and blah blah blah." And so, it goes into the scene where he's explaining to his like brat little son about like what a foreman is, and and his son's like, "Gee, I can't wait to tell all my friends at school my dad's a foreman or whatever."
Yeah.
And he immediately starts planning like what he's going to buy. So he has this kind of consumerist ambitions that drive him. He wants a new car, and
he's gonna get his wife a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Vacuum cleaner, car. He's washing dishes and carelessly like throws one in the air and it falls. He's like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna buy you some new dishes too."
Yeah, and then just kind of fucking walks away from it as she picks
she
it
has
up.
to fucking clean it up. But she's like happy to do it because like he's got to go listen to the radio with Junior.
Yeah, and like puff a cigarette directly into his son's mouth, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of
compliments him for beating somebody up at school. Like it's good old 30s parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets pretty psyched about this. Like the next day, he even like tries out a car, and like I don't know if you caught this either. The car is not American built.
No.
And so it's like a luxury item, and the guy's trying to sell it to him like that too. He's like, this is a foreign car. It won't be around for too long, so you got to buy it quick.
He's got a Ford in the garage that he's trying to get rid of too. Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe, he wanted a good German car. I don't know if that was a thing yet. I guess it probably was. So, he goes to the factory, and he's, again, expecting to be advanced to foreman. And who gets it? Old Joe Dombrowski.
The nerd.
The fucking nerdy Polak who might be Jewish.
Right. Yes.
I meant to actually go back and listen to it because they say an old timey slur that I couldn't hear or understand.
Hunyak. Yeah, Hunyak.
Oh,
it's a
wow.
Hunyak. That's what they called him.
Hunyak.
Yeah.
See, damn. Yeah, I wasn't even.
Hunyak being like a general term for people from Eastern Europe, apparently.
Right.
And
so it's like hunky, but
yeah, exactly.
A variation of hunky, basically. Yeah. So Frank.
So a white guy calls him a honky. Good.
Yeah. It's hunky is different than honky. For those of you that don't know, hunky refers to all Slavic people, even though it comes from Hungarian. But it's because a lot of people were coming from Austria-Hungary at the time, and so.
But isn't honky just a derivation of that?
No, honky has a different etymology.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, honky. That's why I said it's different. Honky and hunky are different. Anyway, so Humphrey Bogart gets pissed off that this foreigner took his job, and that he's not gonna make all this money. So like he angrily goes home, and like he's an asshole to like his wife, and the guy about the car calls, and he's an asshole to him too. He's like, I can't buy the car or whatever, and so he's like all pissed off. And, Junior's again listening to the radio, and he comes, and lo and behold, there's some sort of basically Father Coughlin talking.
Yeah.
So he tunes into some nativist radio, and, it's a guy talking about how foreigners are here to take, good American jobs. And
Of grasping, pushing foreigners who are stealing jobs from American workmen and bread from American homes. We, the challengers, have raised our rallying cry, America for American.
His accent is basically Coughlin's too. It's like really, his intonation is I think viewers at the time in 37 would know that this was supposed to be Coughlin, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not really sure how many I'm sure there were lots of other nativist radio shows, but the most recognizable would obviously be Coughlin, right? And this is set in Michigan. I think it's very clearly supposed to be that. And so Humphrey Bogart's
he's getting ready
listening.
to join the Legion, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, this guy's talking some sense, because even I think his kids can we listen to something else?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah.
Interestingly, the mayor of Coughlin's hometown there was Black Legion. In the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Royal Oak. That was the name of his suburb there.
So that guy was a Black Legion. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. So, he listens to Coughlin. He's like, yeah, this guy makes sense. He's on the shop floor the next day, and his coworker is also like, hey, you got, your position was taken by this
well-qualified guy.
by this well-qualified guy that spends his time reading books and learning and
made a lot of money for the company, I guess, last year.
Yeah. It's completely sensible that they advanced.
Yeah. And this guy, also told our, Frank, that he thought he would be, in fact, the elected, what you call it, factory warden. What are they called?
Foreman.
Foreman.
Yes.
Freudian slip.
Yeah. So this asshole, racist guy from his work tells him there are other people that think this way, and it doesn't have to be like this, and there's some like-minded people. If you just go to this place, blah blah blah, you'll meet who we're talking about.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of guys from the post office.
Yeah. So do you remember what was that worker's name?
Cliff Moore.
Cliff. Ah, yes. Cliff.
Played
Moore.
by Joseph Sawyer, a Canadian.
Ooh, we know about them. So kind of while all this is going on, there's also the whole subplot of his neighbor / old buddy, who's a good guy. And is trying to get married now with this nice woman, but he had a past with this kind of seductress alcoholic.
Yeah.
He's a dopey guy, but he's supposed to be kind of quintessentially a good guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
She's bad. Yeah,
she's bad.
Yeah, she's
bad. A woman of loose morals.
Yeah,
I think they would say.
She wants to have sex with a man, so she's bad.
Yes. Essentially, this woman is impossible to describe without using really sexist tropes, because her character is a super sexist trope. So
it's a super sexist
that's
trope.
just who she is.
Yeah, she's a slut. That's her.
I've been trying to avoid.
Yeah,
that's a clear intention on the part of the
totally.
and a straight up homewrecker, because she she doesn't give a shit about whether a man is married or engaged or whatever.
Yeah.
She's there to fuck things up for everyone.
Right.
So we are introduced to this character kind of
a Jezebel.
Jezebel. What other sexist terms could we use for? Anyway, we see her at the store when Humphrey Bogart comes to this secret meeting, and of course she doesn't have money, and she puts it on credit and just kind of flirting with the store owner.
Yeah.
Either way, you see here that the store owner is kind of in on this whole thing, right? Because he comes, Humphrey Bogart comes, he tells the shopkeep that he was sent there for this thing, and the shopkeep does a secret knock on a door, and then this door opens up and he goes into the basement, and yet again there's another. He also kind of was Coughlin-esque here too. The guy who's speaking. Did you catch on to that a little bit?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of sounded like him. In
his hair was very distracting, though. He's got a weird like mid-parted wig thing going on. He looks like an English
So-
schoolboy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like Humphrey Bogart goes down into this cellar and there's like a bunch of guys down there and they're listening to this like nativist speech by this guy who's talking and using a term that we're all familiar now from this arc, Americanism.
Yes.
And is going on and on about, 100% pure Americanism.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, being a reference to the, what was going on at the time.
To a bunch
Yeah.
of fascists.
To a bunch of fascists that we've
Look,
covered in
there
this
are
arc so far.
essentially direct quotes of that from pretty much everybody that we mentioned, like that exact phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
Except the
it's-
Italians. Yeah, they stand apart.
So, at the end of this speech, Humphrey Bogart's really like, oh, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. Like, tells his buddy he's going to join and he goes. And of course, once again, when he goes to join, they're like, it's X amount of dollars for the initiation fee and then, and for your robe. And then, what is it? Like another like $6 for the pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here it's even more clear here that like they have an established hustle going on.
Yes.
Because they're like, yeah, you can send it directly to whatever. He's like, just say it's the Black Legion special or something. And
Yes.
Yeah. They offered
His
it like a
discount or
discount price.
whatever.
They're always giving prices for things, which I really like. In the other movie too, like really right on the spot with exactly the price of this thing you need to get.
We'll issue to you your Black Legion uniform for the nominal sum of $6.50. Those of you who do not own a revolver will place your orders at the offer ordinance for the Black Legion special, a regular $30 revolver for the small sum of $14.95.
And later on, we see a conversation between the leaders of the Legion, who are really portrayed more or less explicitly as capitalists, I would say.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
as like capitalists that are kind of out of the industry at the moment.
Yes.
Looking
and,
for a
and
hustle.
they are counting how much money they made and how they should like make a national organization. There will be even more money in that and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, because they're, the one guy's reading off to these capitalists, like the list of like local chapters. Well, at first he's like, this group has like $700. He's like, not even $1,000.
Yeah.
And he's
yeah.
like, no, that's just this chapter. Like
Yeah.
these other ones. And he's like, okay, that's more like it.
Yeah. And also at this time, like as Frank walks into the secret meeting, he's still not sure. Like he laughs at the secret knock, for instance. He thinks it's silly, But by the end of this meeting, he's kind of, you can feel him being pushed now, like they're really putting pressure on him as well. He's kind of caving. And then we cut to him with a gun in his house.
Yeah. And he's playing with this gun in his house and Junior really loves it.
Will you let me shoot it sometimes?
Yeah, I'll let you shoot it sometimes.
Oh, boy.
But his wife is quite rightfully so like, what the fuck is this? Why'd you buy this gun? And he's like, well, to protect the home and family, with all the kidnappings and break-ins that have been happening. She's like, yeah, well, you didn't get the promotions, so now you just spent all our money on a gun.
Yeah, but I like his line though in that moment because he kind of echoes the line of the person who initiated him when he gives them guff about getting a gun. He says like, "Isn't it like worth everything to protect your home and family or something like that, right?" And then he tries that line on his wife, but you can tell he doesn't really believe it yet either. And he says something like,
It's worth any sacrifice, ain't it, to be able to protect your home and family and things like that?
He's still not completely over on the dark side yet, but he's moving rapidly.
Rapidly. I mean, this movie, his descent is really quick.
Yeah.
Because it actually takes a little while for him to join, right? Like it's like in 25 minutes into the film is when he gets initiated or something. It's not like an immediate thing. And so, they do the same kind of initiation sequence. Although this time, like it's the oath is even more like it's God and the devil. And then he pledges to rid the world of anarchists and the
Catholics.
Roman hierarchy.
Explicitly anarchists and like Roman Catholics are the biggest
Yeah.
enemies.
Read.
In the name of God and the devil, one to reward and the other to punish, and with the powers of light and darkness, good and evil, here under the black arch of heaven's avenging symbol, I pledge and consecrate my heart, my brain, my body, and my limbs, that I will exert every possible means in my power for the extermination of the anarchists, the Roman hierarchy, and their abettors.
Catholics have got to wonder how they keep ending up in the same sentences as anarchists and Jews and communists. Like,
Yeah, they don't even reference Jews in this one, in this like, oath. But like even there, you see like Humphrey Bogart's kind of like uncomfortable with it, and he's also like not really confident in reading some of these words. Like he can't really say hierarchy. He's like hierarchy.
Yeah.
Like he's not familiar with some of this language.
They're not his thoughts.
Yeah. And then like when it gets to the part like, if I betray my, the Black Legion.
Do I have to say this?
Say it.
I will pray to an avenging God and an unmerciful devil to tear my heart out and roast it over the flames of sulfur. And lastly, may my soul be given unto torment, that my body be submerged into molten metal and stifled in the flames of hell.
It's very uncomfortable with that and doesn't want to say it. And like the last one, which I didn't mention, they do it in this oath sequence as well, is they give him a bullet, right? And they take the actual bullet part off, the lead, and they give him, the shell, and they're like, this is for you. This is, an indication that you're part of the group. But like, if you fuck around, the lead is, what you're gonna get.
That's it. That's all real, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah.
They took the cartridge off from the shell, and then they said like, and we're holding on to this in case we need to return it to you. I think that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's one thing I noticed about the uniforms. Did you notice that the two like authority figures, like the two officers or whatever, are wearing explicitly white Klan robes?
Right. Yeah.
Like everybody else has the black robe with the white skull and crossbones. These guys have the white robes with like the straight up Klan symbol on it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting as well. So yeah, they don't. They get straight to business. You pretty much one of the next things you see after like him being at home with the pistol and arguing with his wife is that they call him to go out on a mission with them. Now he tells his wife that he's going to some sort of, did you get what that was? It was some sort of like home.
I think he's calling it a lodge meeting later anyway.
Yeah, like a lodge meeting for what though? But it was for like.
I think it's not clear, but like some kind of a club, I guess, or something.
Yeah, but it's like something that would be.
It's guy stuff.
Yeah, but even like he's lying about it badly because it's like, why would this lodge be meeting late at night? Like it's weird. So it cuts to a sequence of them, piling into cars and going over to the Dombrowski farm.
Yeah.
And so basically all these Black Legionnaires show up. And, it's a pretty action-packed sequence, and it is kind of like scary. They roll into this house. Dombrowski's there with his father, who's like this, nice old man. And, they tell him, foreigner, get out, whatever. And the father's like, we are good American citizen and all this shit. They don't care. They burn down their house and chicken farm and send them packing. Literally, I think they said they put them on a freight train, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put them on like a freight train out of town. And so it cuts then to like all the Black Legionnaires having like a drink together, happily like celebrating what they did. Alcohol is going to become like a vehicle for them to talk about like, Bogart's character's downfall, because like as he gets more and more like into this like insane racism, he also gets like kind of more and more drunk and like starts drinking more heavily.
So yeah, we have like very like plainly we can see that he became a fascist and a member of a fascist group so that he could get rid of the guy who got the job that he wanted to, in order so that he could buy things, like buy a new car, although he already has a car, but he wants a new one. And, and he's now fine with like basically lynching people for that purpose.
Yeah. They burn down this, these people's hardworking like immigrant families farm, so that he can buy Junior a Louisville Slugger, and just the next sequence is him coming home drunk and his wife being like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "Shut up, woman."
Yes, yeah.
He like immediately becomes like a violent asshole to her,
right?
And it's like, you don't get to ask me what I'm doing. But all that's kind of forgotten about the next day, because he rolls back to the house with a brand new car. He buys a car, and they're like, oh, wow, look at the car. And then he gives his wife a vacuum cleaner and gives Junior a Louisville Slugger. He goes,
Oh, boy, a Louisville Slugger.
So he has a
yeah,
car.
why don't you go?
Junior has a bat, and the wife has a vacuum cleaner because
Yes.
what could she want more than that?
That's America,
she
baby.
seems, well, she's like pretty delighted with it. And then she's like, wait, how did you
Wait, are
buy
you
this?
lynching people?
and he's like, well, I got the promotion at work. I'm a foreman now. And she's like, foreman? Wasn't that Dombrowski's job? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Where does the ride come in when he's riding with his buddy? Is that now? Because that was interesting.
Which ride?
Well, he's riding around in this new car with his buddy and his like normal working class neighbor, that was supporting this whole time. And he starts asking him, like Frank asks his buddy here.
You ever think of joining any organization?
He responds,
Sure, I'm a union man.
which I thought was great because that's not what Frank meant, but that is a good answer. Yeah. No, I mean our real problems. The far.
Yeah, this is his dopey neighbor who I think is implied that he's Irish, right? His name is Grogan.
Yeah, which is also close to
Why
the real
he's drunk
story
too, right?
because, as well, we'll continue the story, but yeah, it's important what he gets accused of.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this good guy neighbor, like you said, Fritz, like he's not into joining this. Like he's like, I'm already in the union. I don't foreigners. What?
Dopey, okay, but he's not like necessarily dumb. He's simple, but in a way that's like fine. Like he's a good person.
Yeah, because like he's a good guy.
He doesn't complicate things.
Because that when he finally like proposes to his fiancée, it's because she leads him down the way because he's like too dumb to figure out that she's trying to get him to ask her to marry him.
Yeah, he's just
she's like
an emotionally
she's like,
stunted
if you were
man
gonna propose to a man, to a woman, that'd be interesting. If you were gonna propose to a woman, how would you do it?
Yeah,
and he's like, and then she's like kind of leading him on until like he finally actually.
I thought it was a cute scene. I thought it was a cute
scene. But he's not supposed to be like exactly the brightest guy.
No. But he is a union man. He knows what's right. He knows what's wrong.
Yeah.
Unlike Frank.
When does he really go down the shitter? What?
So on the factory floor, Frank is with his buddy, who he decided his name is not Harris or Colin, but what?
Cliff.
Yeah.
Cliff.
So
the other racist guy.
Yeah. So Frank and Cliff receive orders from on high to double double themselves by finding 2 new members, right? Because they look at the accounts, the profits coming in, but not enough, so they decide we need a membership drive up in the Black Legion offices in the mansion we're briefly shown. So Cliff and Frank now have an incentive
now
to
Frank
get on
is going to have the Fritz Kuhn problem, which is doing too much fascism on the job and not enough work.
Yes, as Kuhn got in trouble for at Ford. Exactly right. Yeah. So as he's trying to radicalize this worker from Texas, this drill gets fucked up while he's not out there, and he loses his gig as the foreman, which he's then replaced by this lovable old Irish worker guy who everything he said in the movie has been something nice. He gets the job. So of course, like, Frank's bloodlust rises again, and he and his boys pick up this nice old Irishman and beat the shit out of him while he's hanging from a tree with lashes, as the real dudes did.
They flog him. Yeah, which is what they did.
But Frank does not get his job back, and instead spirals into an even deeper cycle of alcoholism, depression, and harlotry.
Right. Well, because this lovable neighbor that they flogged, is clearly shaken up, and he's like all fucked up at home. And Frank's wife goes over to help the family because they're neighbors and they've clearly like been friends for a long time, and she's there to help them out. And she comes home, and Humphrey Bogart Frank is literally just like, "Where's my dinner?" Like, he's like, you're over at their house, and I want a hot meal.
You're making Irish Mike dinner, and my dinner is cold. That's what's the idea.
Yeah. And she gets pissed off that he's being like a huge asshole, and then he slaps her, and then she does the right thing and ditches him.
Yeah.
She takes Junior and leaves town to go back to her family.
But she also realizes that he's involved in the lynching.
Because his friend and neighbor, his best buddy, the normal kind of dopey guy, he turns out he's not so dopey, you see, because he's put two and two together and starts asking his wife questions about the lodge meetings and if they line up with the lynchings, and she then also realizes.
Yes.
Yeah. So she does the right thing. She leaves. At which point, he connects with that the sexist stereotype woman who's degenerate alcoholic. She moves in.
Frank is now completely broken, which is reflected in him hooking up with this woman. This is what the authors of the film are telling us. This is when you are so broken, you will end up with such a woman.
Yeah, a woman, by the way, who is noticeably slightly older than Frank, which is, of course, another sign that
she's not married.
She's an unmarried woman. That's
and they're like absolutely shit-faced. Like,
they're drinking together.
Yeah.
They're like knocking over beer cans. There's liquor on the table. They're both singing "I've Been Working on the Railroad."
Yes.
And like the neighbors are just like, "Damn, he's gone down the shitter." Like, this is terrible.
And what a shameless woman they're saying.
Yeah.
Like, why is she shameless? I mean, he slapped his wife who left him because he's a fascist who is lynching people now.
Yes, but she is unmarried at her age.
Yes. Having a drink,
getting wasted,
Yes.
So then, like that nice Irish neighbor finally decides, like, okay, enough's enough. Like, like Frank's been an asshole lately, but this is like, his life's completely fucked. Like, look at him. I'm going to go intervene. So he goes and he physically takes that woman out of the house and like throws her on her ass out from the house, tells her to get lost. And this is what the Black Legion then uses to finally like take him out of the game for good. Right?
Yeah.
So they flogged him. He didn't, get the message. So now they're saying that he is a woman beating women, right?
His wife, beating his wife.
That's
how the rumor kind of spreads out. Yeah.
Right.
Through this lady who essentially starts the rumor.
Yeah.
So Frank, who actually did hit his wife, right?
Yes.
Is now going to engage in this conspiracy to blame his very nice neighbor for hitting his wife. And that's how it goes down, which is just another example of that fucking Nazi projection problem here on film.
Yes.
Everything they accuse you of doing, they probably did. Yeah.
Yeah. So once they decide that they're gonna, try Kroger for Grogan, sorry, right?
Yeah, Kroger is the grocery chain.
Kroger's once they decide they're gonna try Grogan for being for beating women, they roll up and they pick him up, and then there's this like scene in the car where Grogan turns out to have some to be pretty gutsy, because he's just like, show your damn faces to me. Like, you call yourselves the Black Legion, you should be called the Yellow Legion.
Yeah. He knows it's Cliff that's kidnapped him and all that shit, and like he's just calling him out. It's good. He's good.
Yeah. But they beat the shit out of him.
He's going to die
in the car. Yeah, he's definitely going to die. So they put him, much like in the previous film, they put him in front of this like tribunal out in the middle of the woods. Except Grogan then breaks free and tries to run away, at which point Frank shoots him a bunch of times.
Yes. And again, the guy he's supposed to be, based on Poole, was shot in the woods a bunch of times. Poole also accused of beating his wife. Importantly, Poole also Catholic and his wife Protestant, which was something that happened in the real story. Yeah, but
I mean, I think that's implied here with
it's
him
implied.
being
Yeah, it is
Irish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if his like fiance is supposed to be Protestant. She probably is, because she's just like
she's a normie.
Just a normie.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't specifically try to make her into something else, which usually means that they're implying that she's just a wasp.
Yeah, and they specifically made Cliff formerly somebody who drinks a lot, which I think helps imply that he's Irish.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's how that comes together.
Yeah, his character enters the film by being hungover.
Right.
For drinking too much beer. Yeah. So at this point, they're like, oh shit, we killed this guy, and they all kind of just run away, really. And Frank ends up at a diner, covered in dirt and clearly flustered, asking for water. Then they hear on the radio that they found the body. Some cops come in for coffee and immediately figure out that it's him because he kind of tries like to bolt. Like when he hears the news, and then the cops catch him. They find his revolver. They just said on the news that he was shot like 4 times, and they were like, and there's 4 slugs missing. So they arrest him, and he goes to jail. At which point the Black Legion kind of shows that they have like this connection, right? So in this one, the state isn't like directly implicated, right? They're neutral, but it's clear that the Black Legion has like access to like good lawyers and shit like that. They're ready to like play that game.
Yeah, they're led by rich people.
Yeah, and if he's willing to play along, they'll get that like wicked sinful woman to testify that it was in self-defense and that Grogan was in fact like that Frank and her were in love, and that Grogan was jealous. Because of his previous relationship with her, and that he then attacked them in the woods, and that Frank shot him out of self-defense. And Frank agrees to this, and then there's this courtroom sequence of him lying, and then finally she gets up on the stand, she lies, and he decides he can't lie anymore and sells out the whole crew. And he points out to the judge that pretty much everybody in the courtroom is like Black Legion, like except for his wife and like Grogan's family, who was also there, who are like sad. Yeah, everybody else is part of the Black Legion somewhere or another. The judge is horrified, and then goes on to a long tirade. Not tirade. He gives a speech.
Yes.
About the dangers of these false patriots who think they're representing Americanism and American values, but in fact, they're
lawbreakers. That's kind of the emphasis that I remember.
Yes.
That they, yeah. They talk about, in both these movies, they talk about how the freedom of everyone's religious choice is respected, irregardless of race or whatever. But in this one,
there's almost no mention. I mean, there's no mention in these 2 films of race, right? There are no black people at all.
No.
No.
And again, this is a period of time in which the Klan is doing all kinds of shit.
Yes.
Throughout the country.
Are you saying the Hunyaks aren't a race?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they are. I don't know. But
we prefer the term Morlock here on the show. Thank you very much.
So it's interesting. The first film had portrayed this connection with basically the Black Legion kind of controlling the whole city, and especially the media business.
Yeah.
Well, having also political connections.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, not so much of that, but clearly it is implied that the people who lead it are capitalists. But what I found it more interesting in this one is this, Frank's motivation to become a fascist as basically consumerism, and which I found it kind of interesting.
And it's interesting too because it's the only one, I think, of the media that we dealt with today that had like the enemy come from within. That is that we follow Frank as the main character, and we watching it also join the Black Legion with him, as opposed to entering it as an outside force or an invader of some kind.
Which is compatible with this idea of critiquing, such consumerist ambitions, I would say, because I probably that was the intention, which I found interesting. That this is somehow the point of the film is, it's interesting that a movie in 1937 would make such a point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea is that this could be anybody, right?
Yes,
because it's he's the model kind of average Joe,
I think
guy.
Like we said earlier, it really mattered that prominent victims of theirs were white.
Oh, absolutely.
Because again,
yeah.
Like Ray pointed out, there's like no Black people in this at all, and they were targeted, lynched, places burned down, murdered.
I'd have to pull up the speech again, but I do feel like he says race.
It is
regardless of race. Or,
but it's like
it's in there, but it's paying lip service to. This is the Klan that attacked white people.
Yes,
and so like this is like a scary thing to them. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Humphrey Bogart's wardrobe reflects his descent into becoming like a crazy racist guy. You notice that like in the beginning of the film, he's wearing a lot of like lighter colors. By the end, it's almost exclusively dark.
Yeah.
Like in the sequence where he's drinking with his with that woman and they're in the house, he's like wearing all black.
Yeah.
The night that he like murders Grogan, he's wearing like a black leather jacket and like dark clothes.
On top of his full uniform and regalia and all that.
And that's reflected in his wife is like completely dressed in black at the end, is, you know, like she's in mourning. I mean, he's alive. Maybe she's mourning Grogan, but you know, she's, you know, it's a visual indication that like, you know, these guys have gone down the wrong path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very like Hollywood at that time.
Good film. Check it out.
Yeah. You know, that was a pretty enjoyable film. It got like we said, you know, got pretty good reviews. It was, I think, the screenplay was nominated for an Academy Award.
Word. So that's the films. Those are the filmic representations of the Black Legion. But we also had a few radio-lic representations here. Two radio plays were made about the Black Legion. One of them, an episode of, it's called True Detective Stories. Is that right?
Mysteries.
True Detective Mysteries. In 1937. And then one of my favorite shows as a kid, believe it or not, The Shadow, from 1938, which I was super happy to see because
with Orson Welles.
With Orson, well, yeah, he was a later Shadow. He wasn't even the best Shadow, I should add, but he was a good Shadow.
Because Fritz was in fact raised in the 1940s.
I was, yes. Back when I was a kid in 1938. We would all gather around the open flame that my dad would light in the back alley that we lived in and hope for a job from the Ford factory.
And listen to the neighbor's radio, I guess.
Listen to the neighbor's radio, yeah. Yeah. So, what are we talking about? Oh, yeah, all right. So we all listened to both of these. I think we all kind of had a hard time really focusing on them, not just because they're from 1937 and the weather was weird, but also the first one, this Detective Stories one, not that great. Kind of a jumbled mess.
And to be honest, the audio quality was not great.
No.
I mean, like I might have been able to focus more on it if like it wasn't an hour of like
no, it's
that like
25 minutes, I think.
And like 25 minutes, yeah,
yeah,
an hour.
And in this case, the hero's like cast as a guy out of work. It's really nothing special about it. It's not better than either of the films.
I remember this one because they explicitly say how the Black Legion is about white supremacy at some point.
Yes,
which I found interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, the only thing that really stood out to me in that one is they add white supremacy to the oath. So when they do the oath, it's the same thing, kind of like forces of light and darkness, good and evil, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, do you believe in white supremacy? He says, yes. It's very... And that one of the victims in this one is black.
That's the most important thing about this one. Yes. It is the only black victim in the whole series of media that we did today. And portrayed by very clearly a white actor doing whatever the radio equivalent of blackface is. But I think he believes it's very sympathetic. So
yes,
yeah. So this guy gets lynched. Why? I don't remember why. Let's get the fuck out of this episode. Let's go to the next one.
I don't either.
All right, none of us care about this one. So let's just go to the Shadow. Okay. So the good one, I thought the better of the two radio ones anyway. And in some ways, I don't know. In some ways, I would say maybe more focused on the power structure behind the Black Legion is an episode of The Shadow, which is called The White Legion. And if you guys don't know,
a better name for this group.
Really, yeah, well, a lot more accurate. In fact, people at the time, investigators referred to them as the Blacks, which I think is also unfortunate. But there it is. So yeah, again, The Shadow fixed their club and made them the White Legion. Same story as before. The Shadow, if nobody knows, is this long-running radio show pulp fiction character.
The Shadow knows.
In probably the dumbest version, but that's the one that I grew up with, he's like a guy named Lamont. He's some playboy, kind of like Bruce Wayne. He's really the original Bruce Wayne. This is the original American superhero story. Honestly, this is what it is. So he has some sort of crazy training that can make him invisible, and then his voice gets weird and radio-like, and that's his whole thing. And then he solves crimes and says that he defends the oppressed, which is a nice sentiment. But usually he's fighting Chinese people. So that's the Shadow. But in this one, he's going after the White Legion, who has already killed very early in the episode, and is moving on to targeting a district attorney who has evidence that's going to put the White Legion down forever. The district attorney himself gets kidnapped by the White Legion, and then the Shadow steps in, uncovers a conspiracy, saves the district attorney, and also, just like in the first movie we watched today, the what's it called? The Legion of Doom, the Temple of
the Legion of Terror.
Legion of Terror. The media is also part of this. That the newspapers in this episode are also kind of run by the Black Legion, but they take it a step further in this one, and the judge, for once, is outed as Black Legion, and like more of the state apparatus is folded into the conspiracy than in the previous versions.
Who are you?
I am the Shadow, Judge Roscoe. I have some unsworn testimony that may interest you. The men who paid Red Collins to commit murder are in this room. They are the leaders of the White Legion.
But apart from that, a lot of good advertisements for Blue Coal.
What is Blue Coal?
It's the best anthracite in
anthracite.
Anthracite. That's what I said. Anthracite in Pennsylvania or whatever.
Blue coal.
Yeah. It's like spring's coming. You gotta sometimes it's cold. Blue coal is designed for your household.
Yes.
It fits
and you should tell Blue Coal how much you enjoy the Shadow. That's what they say in the end.
Really, that was the other half of this episode was Blue Coal advertisements.
So that's
I mean, really, I don't want to.
That's the radio, old timey radio equivalent of use promo code blah blah blah.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess that's it. So I guess the only really cool thing about the Shadow one is that it was the latest one in this mix. It came out after the movies and basically made it into a superhero story from the first superhero, really. So that's kind of cool on its own.
And I mean, there is something kind of fun about listening to the radio dramas, like the musical cues and stuff that they use. It's interesting.
Oh,
I mean, if you haven't listened to any of that,
and they're live, which is cool.
Interesting.
It's all done live in studio. There's a lot to like about it. Whatever. I'm a dork. I had them on cassette tapes, and I would listen to them in the back of the station wagon on road trips. Man, seriously, I could. Yeah. The Shadow really influenced my life, guys. I'm glad you're here to share this with me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a little window into how some of the stuff in this arc was portrayed by mass media at the time.
Yeah. It's also a very nice lesson in how to make a podcast episode if you don't want to do the research, which I think is also interesting.
What, by watching movies?
You just watch the movies,
But we like movies on this show.
Yeah. No,
some of us like movies. I don't know. I mean, they seem to be more or less accurate.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, it was a very compelling story. People were fascinated by it. It had all this ritualistic qualities to it. These guys were completely evil, and saturated the power structures of local governments and whatever. What do you call those people that run all the businesses? Capitalists, yeah, etc. So yeah, very Manichean, easy bad guy, worth a couple movies.
Indeed.
Yeah. Also, there was a recent depiction, by the way, that we didn't watch, which is in a show on Netflix called Damnation about the Depression, and they appear in that too. So that might be interesting.
Okay, I didn't know about this.
But yeah,
when did that come out?
2017 or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So, of all of the fascist groups in the 30s, it seems that the Black Legion left the biggest mark on the Americans or impression for some reason.
Yeah.
I think it's just an easy one. Everybody already knows the Klan, and this is like the evil Klan, which,
Yes.
Yeah,
He's not going to be scared of that.
The plan that targets white people on the job.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Yeah.
You can see how that could be scary to...
Yeah. It targets white people and 48 other people. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. So, Black Legion's down.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are really at the end of the first part of our new arc. So we are officially done with the episodes that will cover the 30s. I know that
We'll dip back in now and then, but it's done.
Yes.
It's
because
history
you will
now.
talk about Christian identity. You will have to talk about pre-war stuff, but we're mostly done.
Ray,
with
I'm gonna
that.
have to talk about a lot of fucking shit.
Okay.
That's those guys.
Well,
Those guys.
I'm sure you will be able to make something out of it.
Yeah.
And is that our next episode?
That is. That's coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going into Christian identity.
Easy for y'all to say.
Yeah. That's the very American.
Very American, yet
fascism.
somehow also ancient Egyptian.
Yes,
at the same time.
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, everybody's always going to tie something into ancient Egypt.
Yeah. All right, well, see you guys at the Great Pyramids of Los Angeles.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, cheers.
Let's give a thought to the special heating problems of the spring season. Springtime means warm days, cool days, showers, and uneven temperatures that bring colds and sniffles. So guard against uncertain weather. Burn blue coal in your heating plant, for blue coal protects against varying temperatures. Its harmless blue color is your guarantee of steadier, more dependable heat at less cost. So when you're buying fuel, insist on blue coal, Pennsylvania's finest anthracite.